Yeah, rip the Band-Aid off.
You're a professional.
Hello, everyone. My name is Anna Seahawk, and today we have the amazing Fiona Gardner with us, who is an expert in microscopy, spit that out,
Big mouthful.
and the healing properties of living waters, particularly our ultrafiltrate golden blood plasma. I'm so excited to have you here today, Fiona. Do you want to just give yourself a quick introduction and of how you kind of got? How long ago did you start looking through a microscope at our plasma? Let's just start with
Right.
that.
Okay. Well, I just want to say thank you for asking me and inviting me here today. It's such an honor and a pleasure. So thank you. So I'd say, well, 3 years ago, I started looking at urine when I started using urine myself. So that's how I got interested. But my history with the microscope probably goes back a few more years because just looking at blood, in the microscope, that's kind of what I'd been doing for a while now. So then once I started on the urine path, I was like, oh, I should be looking at urine to see what that looks like. So so then I got really excited because I mean, I was excited looking at blood. It's fun looking at the holograms and everything in blood, but urine has a lot more magic and a lot more information and a lot more things that are actually visible and things that you can see. So yeah, so I got really excited about that. So yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of information out there about blood, but usually when they're looking at it, they're like, okay, they dry it, they stain it with something, it's different because the blood is like when you take it out of the body, then it's not like alive anymore. Is that accurate to say?
Well,
Where the urine or the plasma, it's like your body's naturally discharging it, so that I don't know. There's like some kind of energetic difference there, just to me as a
yeah, exactly. That's what I feel. Well, a lot of people look at blood. Yeah, they do dry it. Like if it goes to the hospital and you have tests, they actually kill it and fill it with chemicals. So how whatever read they get from that type of blood, I don't understand because they're actually killing the information. But
right,
our blood's not really supposed to come out the body. It's supposed to stay in the body because, like, because we're taking the blood out by puncturing the skin, and looking at it. So then the blood changes. Then, as soon as it's in the environment and the air, there's going to be a reaction with blood.
right,
So things change. So you kind of like, okay, so that's the whole thing. Is there really a cell, in our body?
exactly.
Do things really look like that? Or is that just the effect as it's come into this environment, and it's having to change and do things um, to survive basically and thrive. But our urine, because we collect it in the bladder, and then when there's too much in the body, it's natural for it to come out because we know that we can store urine for years and years and years, and it still creates a perfect environment, you know, in its container. So it doesn't mold, it doesn't go off, things like that. Whereas blood will dry out. And eventually, I don't know, storing blood is probably very different, but urine's meant to be out of the body. So yeah, you're right. What's ever in that information, it's out there in the environment. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's yeah, you really wrapped up how I feel about it. So, I wasn't wrong. Or the
Right.
intuition, just going with the intuition. And the other thing I wanted to talk about was like this emotional connection. One of my friends actually had a great question. She said, what if yourself are processing dark feelings, and besides taking your own plasma, you're also taking somebody else's who is more emotionally balanced, someone you trust and feel confident with, and maybe the same gender even. will that, seeing the active light particles, would that help progressively through the process to heal these emotional or to stabilize yourself on an emotional level?
If you're taking somebody else's urine,
Yeah, like as well as your own, but taking someone else's plasma or Shivambu that is in a more stable, emotionally stable situation.
well, so you're going to be taking in the information from within their body of how their body's coded. So that's not something like I've ever done. I know it's people say you can use other people's urine and everything else, and yeah, you totally can, but you are going to be taking in information that's specifically coded to them. And this is not something that an avenue I've like delved down, or even explored like looking at in a sense, because like when I look at urine there is like a basic foundation of like, form and shapes and things that happen, but everybody has their own unique signature within their urine. So I think
Yeah,
it would
it's
be the same,
really
like, like
personal.
if you're in, yeah. So I always imagine like if you're with a friend and you're in close connection, your fields of energy are connected. So there's going to be an exchange. So if you're taking somebody else's urine, you're taking in that exchange in a deeper cellular level. So I don't really know. I have mixed feelings, so it's not something I've really explored. So I don't really have an answer, because some people are like, oh, well, you wouldn't want to take in somebody else's fluids and information, and you said at the beginning if they're working with darker, did you say darker energies or just like heavy feelings emotionally?
Right. Like if
I would
someone's
feel
going through
that,
a super hard time, if they took the plasma in of someone that like is more stable than they are, like
right?
in
Yeah,
a
I think
happier state.
it would benefit, but for me, I would be more inclined for them to encourage them to just be with themselves, taking in their own and allowing the transformation to happen within them with their own energies, their own frequencies. Because I've been on the journey for like 3 years. So I've noticed you go through different levels of healing, or, learning about yourself. Different things will come up in your life. Like even now at 3 years of doing it consistently every day, I'm at a point where I have something that's, especially like on my skin, it's been sticking around for a month. And I've been like, "Oh, I'm really frustrated. I'm dealing with this every day. I'm soaking because it's my feet and my leg, and I'm soaking it. But I'm watching there's a energetic pattern. There's the thoughts, there's the feelings, there's all these other parts that have to be processed and worked through as well. So if somebody was like in a really, like, I think of my mum, who's really, really kind of got lots of health issues. And I encourage her to use her own. She does. If she was having a really bad, say something awful was happening at a point, I would encourage her, like, here, have some of mine, because there might be some kind of effect that could maybe in that instant where it's more of an acute thing happening. Here, deal with
Right.
it. So yeah, but not if it was consistent. I would be encouraging the person to move through this
Yeah.
using their fluids. But
There's a
yeah,
lot that it's very unlike any other purification. It's not just the physical body, it really goes into the emotions. Yeah, it's a deep unveiling. And
real
I did
deep unveiling.
I did a 9-day plasma fast, and I had like, I don't know, this like lucid dream. I was back in my mother's womb, and she was in her mother's womb, and it was like just this fractal like space that I ended up in, and it wasn't just my waters. It was like all of the energy going back to source. Really interesting. So you've
Hmm.
seen some stuff of that, of how the plasma, even though it's out of the person, it still has a connection to them, like across space and time. Is that kind of accurate? Like there's things showing up in the plasma that the person is going through in their life.
Exactly. And just to take go back to what you were saying about like the lucid dream and that experience you had, it's something that I think and feel about a lot. You know, as we were forming as babies in the womb, that the water that we have is the water of our mother. Like all of us, whether we're male or female, it's that water, you know, and we learn that, you know, we have mitochondria that comes from the mother. You know, this water that's been passed down is like so ancient in our bodies, but it's also full of these organisms that we call like somatids. You know, these are higher organisms. They're like they're our chi life force. We can't exist without them. They exist everywhere. They're in our bodies. They're in the soils. They're in the plants, the flowers, the animals. They're in the air we breathe. They're in water. They're just everywhere. So yeah, we're connected to this ancient lineage of organisms that are our life force, and and that life force, even when we die, those organisms, they don't die. They break down our body. And like when our body's put in the ground, those organisms then go into the soil. And what they do, depending on the energy fields that are around, they go in the soil, they become part of the soil or the organisms in the soil, or they'll go into the trees and the flowers and they'll become trees, they'll become flowers. They pleomorph into another life form. So when we think of our urine, so our urine is full of them when we pass that urine out. So that information is held in that fluid. So yeah, so I have people's fluid at my home that I've had for a few years now, and I randomly look at it. But and there's information in that fluid that's still directly linked to them. Of maybe I will see an image, a pattern, an abstract pattern of like one I've talked about is the person that was pregnant. When I had
Ah,
her urine, she wasn't pregnant at the time. And then I looked at her urine when she found out she was pregnant, and I was seeing this information of a child. You know,
wow.
this child that was some relation to September for some reason, and there was just like all these other little parts to it. You know, and she expressed, she said, I just found out I was pregnant. You know, so there's other samples that I have that have done, you know, the same thing with other people. There's pieces of information that are relevant to what they're experiencing at that time. So that's why I'm so into the thing of like, we shouldn't just be, I call it just pissing our life force away. We should
Yeah.
be really conscious of, wow, there's a life force in here. These higher organisms are in this life force too. This is like chi energy. Nothing in our creation can exist without them. There'd be no life. So I think about them just being like flushed down into a system where they're poisoned, soaked in chemicals, and mixed with everybody else's life fluids. To me, it's kind of like like an analogy to life of how, you know, we look at like how we're programmed and kept not living our full potential or the truths about what we are, of how this body
Yeah.
actually works.
And that
So
actually
I think of
you
that.
reveal that in your work, hey, through the plasma of people who don't cycle and the plasma of people who do, and there's a stark difference there.
Yeah, a big, huge difference. And one thing that I found that when I started on the practice, a big thing that when we start reintroducing our urine is our plasma, is the relaxation that happens in our
Mm,
bodies. And I think, we look at like our lifestyles, we've been kept in like high stress levels of existence and life of this is what you have to do to keep living within the system and the matrix of life, having a home, feeding yourself, all the patterns and all the distractions and where all our energy goes that I forgot what we were talking about. Oh, um, what were we talking about?
the life force energy that then how we're pissing it away, literally.
Right.
But
I think yeah, I forgot where I was going with that. Oh my gosh.
it's okay. Did you want to
Yeah,
actually share some of the images that you've
oh, you were talking about people that do and people that don't.
yes.
Yes, so when we reintroduce that life force into ourselves, there's something that gets activated within us. So the relaxation, so the body gets to relax more. It comes out of those stress levels. So we're able to access it. So I take it in kind of like meditation. We get to access different levels of being, different levels of like, we talk about joy needing, how joy is, we need joy in our life, bliss. I feel that that's what I've noticed on this path is that access to joy and bliss and relaxation um, creates that meditative state. So it gives us more access to the ether field, to where our resonance and our harmonics change. So we have access to like one thing I noticed that my lucid dreaming increased. Sensitivity to the environment or feeling information or a knowing more and more, not like having a belief, but more of like deeper knowings about and that's the same with the urine, that deeper knowing that there isn't that much information out there. There's not that much research about what is actually happening when we put it into our body. But I feel that it reawakens our technology
Ooh.
within us. It creates, I think, so I don't know much about this because I'm only just dropping into like Dan Winter's work when he talks about oh, I had it written down. Like it's an implosive charge. What does he call it? Implosive charge collapse. So it's like an access to energy, or I think he calls it like even opening up stargates, access to consciousness. I think it creates a greater awareness for us to access information within the ethers, within consciousness. So
Definitely.
that,
It
yeah,
really woke up my dreaming and lucid dreaming in like a to completely different arena. Yeah. Like
yeah. And there's a lot of
I won't
people that,
even go there because we could just have a whole
right,
episode on lucid dreaming.
right, exactly. Yeah.
But
And when you're
and
doing it,
go
sorry,
ahead.
go on.
No, no, go ahead.
No, I just noticed when I went through, like, I was fasting for like 50 days with my urine. And what I was finding was that I wasn't even really needing sleep. I was in such a heightened awareness of just how I was moving through my environment that it just got to the point where colors, you could see like the full spectrum of colors within the environment. Things were very different. The environment that I was inhabiting was really different. So, and I wasn't sleeping as much, but I wasn't tired. I had lots of energy. I was feeling great. But it was a very different experience when I was just nurturing myself just with urine.
Yeah, it's
Because I know there's
amazing.
a lot of people out there that just do urine and live that way and have a different existence with it and a different relationship, which is really interesting too. Um, so
Yeah,
yeah,
we don't flush any of it down the toilet, actually. We keep everything and then, yeah, we've what we don't use ourselves. So we're nomadic right now. So
Right.
what we don't consume ourselves, we go out and deposit around the neighborhood in the
Right.
trees. And yeah, so I
Yeah.
really feel that connection to the environment on a much deeper level. And I did humanure for a year in a really small space. And when I did that and saving my urine, I noticed the septic field that we had, there was a crack in it where we were staying then. And I was like, okay, let's get the septic out of the septic field. Like, the solutions are actually really simple. And
Right.
just don't contaminate the water you use. And then, you have this
Right.
whole reservoir at your disposal. I don't know if you've
Yeah.
heard of Darlene Tien, a naturopath. She
No.
did an interview with Megan McDonald, and she changed her PhD study to evolved Shivambu. And she did a case study for her PhD. She had uh, across the board, she only used, let me get the numbers right, 5 ml of evolved plasma, 2 weeks, only 2 weeks evolved plasma, 5 ml rectally. And they went for 6 weeks, and straight across the board, every single person had decrease in liver inflammation,
Wow.
all
That's
participants.
amazing.
Yeah,
That's
so
amazing. Yeah.
you yourself
Yeah.
and her, like the women-led pioneers in this arena right now, and I'm just so grateful for the work that you're doing.
Right.
Would you like to
I'd
share
like to
some of
get
the
her
pictures?
information. Oh,
Sorry?
yeah. I'd like to get her information afterwards from you.
Yeah,
Just,
I'll send you the link to that interview and you can watch it. It'd be great to have the two of you on a show that like I would be happy to host that. I would be amazing.
yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah. Do you want to screen share some of your beautiful images that you have?
Mm, But yeah, I was just trying to think where would be the. Let's see. Oh,
One of my favorites is your lightsaber.
oh,
If
right.
you
Yeah,
have that,
let's just
easy.
go there. Where is it? Do I need to? Oh, I see. Share. Okay. Um. Da, da, da.
Yeah, you should be able to just click that share button.
Okay, there's the share button. Share screen.
And you're
I
slowly
just
compiling a book, and I actually would love to. One of my aspirations is to also write or co-write a book. I want to call it Dragon Prana, and make like a children's hygiene book. And so the lightsaber one kind of sparks my interest there.
I'm not sure if it's gonna allow me to. Let's see.
Oh, she's having some technical.
Upload.
Yeah.
Oh, I think it's doing it now. See this. New. Did it share now?
Oh,
Oh,
there we go. It's just taking some
okay.
time. There we are.
I'm like, okay, I cannot see you right now. So, oh, hold on. I am just not technical as a person at
Oh
all.
my gosh, don't worry, you're in good company. But everything, yeah, I see
Okay,
it
you
and
can
it
see
looks great.
that. Okay, we're gonna go to the this
When the
the
pattern is
light.
activated, the image appears. Oh, here we go, light show.
So yeah, this was it was just really interesting to watch the other ways of the information that is shown in the urine is through different optics, different light. And this crystal was actually generating all these different colors. Um, so it was going through like a rainbow spectrum of colors. And yeah, it kind of did. It reminded me totally of Star Wars and all the different, lightsabers and all the different energies about the lightsabers. So yeah, so it was. It's really and it's something that you mostly see in. So there's a big difference when you look at fresh urine and aged urine.
And
Aged urine.
do you filter any of this before you have it in the petri dish?
No, and I don't. So I don't use a petri dish. The amount I actually use that I'm looking at is it's like a pinprick drop,
Oh, wow.
a tiny little drop that I'm looking at through the microscope that has like a wealth of information in it that so like if you were looking at if you look at Vader Austin's work where she looks in a petri dish and you
Right.
see all that information in one big area, I can see like probably 10 times as much information in one drop of urine. And I think
Okay, good
because
to know.
also because our water that we make inside our body it's a sacred water. It's not like the waters on the planet, that are running through the rivers, the streams, the creeks, and in the ocean. Our water in our body that our body makes is actually deuterium depleted. It's a purer water. So it has a total different frequency. It has a very different energy. And when we think about it too, it's made by these higher organisms that exist within us. So there's a lot more going on I feel, with what I've looked at, because I've looked at water under the microscope too, that there's a lot more going on in our waters than in the waters that we drink.
Right.
So, so I feel that when we take in our urine, that we actually activate a pattern. So when we activate those patterns, different images appear, and some of them appear and can be very cymatic, where they will change in shape and form as I'm looking at them, kind of like these patterns, these images. They morphed and changed and grew and did different things, but there's lots of different images that we see. Well, a very familiar, especially in aged urine. This is only in aged urine that have I ever seen like the Merkaba symbols, like the star tetrahedrons that form the more kind of advanced geometry. And you
Right.
can actually watch them as they're forming, and they actually do look like they're like living and like breathing.
Wow.
So I only kind of see this in aged urine. Like fresh urine, it depends if that person, like I said, if that person has been drinking their urine for a long period of time, yeah, their fresh urine does have more so it's so hard to say because I can't like test the harmonics or the frequency of it. So what I look at is what I call like the living current, the crystallography that moves through the sample. They can move at different speeds, at different rates. But if it's somebody that doesn't use their urine, they don't normally have that conductivity as strong in their urine. So to somebody that drinks their urine has a very high electrical magnetic conductivity that's happening in their fluids, and you can see it by the geometry that is formed, and you can see it by how that current moves through the sample.
And is there like a kind of like a threshold, like when you say evolved or aged, like what is sort of is there a marker where it's like, okay, after it gets this old, you have like a leap, or like what's sort of like a minimum age to get maximum benefit, I guess, maybe.
That is a great question. And I think it's different for everyone. I think it's the same for when we start engaging on the path of taking our urine. I think the process of our healing is very, very unique and very, very individual. Because some people say to me, well, I've been doing this for a few weeks now and I'm not feeling anything, or I've been doing this for 3 months and I'm not people have different reactions and people have different levels of needing to be with themselves is one thing. And one thing that I noticed when I started on this journey, I got really, really pissed off. And I use the expression pissed off because I was like, I am so fed up and pissed off for having to piss in this pot all the time. And then I'd be drinking it and then I'd be peeing again. And I'm like, oh, I am so annoyed. So I was feeling this whole emotional process that I was going through, and I kept talking about it and saying it until I went, oh, hold on a minute, just listen to yourself. I think
Right.
people get stuck in habitual patterns that they have to work through. And I feel like, so I have clients that I support in that process. And I just feel for some of us, we need a little bit more support, like you were saying about in the beginning, can this person take this person's urine because it's
More
maybe
sparkly.
more sparkly than theirs? That we do need support and encouragement, because I feel that doing it's a lifestyle. It's going to
Yeah.
change your lifestyle.
Yeah.
And you have to look at the areas in your life that you need to change. Like I have to take a jar if I'm going traveling. I take a jar with me, so I make sure that I have something I can pee in and that I can use. There's all these different levels of things that you have to do. And in the beginning, I was getting really annoyed about having to do that, but it was because there was a level of annoyance and pissed offness in my body that I needed to process and work through.
Right.
So we all have different
Yeah, when people ask
levels.
me how should I start, I always say willingly and joyfully. Like
I'm always like, yeah,
whatever it is. I don't like, even if you're just keeping it and looking at it and observing
yeah,
it and you're not actually even consuming it or putting on your body.
yeah,
It's just to do it with an intention of like curiosity and joyfulness and some kind of love
yeah.
vibration behind there. But I totally get what you mean.
Yeah, because I'm an extremist. I've always gone and give me that. I'm going in there and I'm doing it. I'm the guinea pig for everyone. Blah blah. I'm that
Yeah.
way. I'm wired that way. Other people are not wired that way.
Yeah, I started
So I'm
bang
always
with
like,
like 3 day
yeah.
fast. I was like, let's go.
It's like definitely. I'm like, you need to build up that relationship with your urine because we have been so programmed that anything below the belly button is dirty and disgusting. We have so much locked in there that you need. I'm always like, just put it in a bowl, have it there, and just put your finger in. Feel it,
Yeah.
rub it, smell it. Because it's gonna bring up. It's
And
gonna bring up
emotion.
stuff.
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
gonna have to
yeah,
process something right away.
yeah,
And you've
yeah.
noticed a difference for when you solarize it, when it's out in the sun. Is that correct?
Yes, so that was a big journey with and again that was learning about the body, learning that our body actually makes light and actually makes water started to fascinate me. That these organisms in our gut, they create light, and that we learn about like infrared, all the different spectrums that we can use for healing as well, for our bodies. So um and what I felt with this observation, this work that I should say, because it's not that, well, it has become an obsession, but it's become more of like, there's a force that's I say there's a force that's making me do this, because sometimes I've had to sit for 10 hours at a time just watching a sample
Wow.
to watch the different phases that it goes through. There's been so much that I've had to put in mentally and emotionally and physically myself that I question myself. I'm like, why am I doing this? This is, it's this push, do this. There's like this information that flows through me. And it was, okay, because of, I put the urine on my skin, I soak in it, and I've been out in the sun, and I feel like our skin sparkles afterwards. And I've noticed how skin conditions change. So I wasn't thinking, the thought came in, oh, you should see what happens after it's been out in the sun and dried out. And I was like, okay. So I started to do that. Um, and again, this is funny because I'm just trying to find the section on light.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's actually a light like for your home that someone created that you can use seawater or your own urine to make this lamp light up.
What?
Yeah, I'll
Oh
have to
my gosh.
send you that.
You're going to have to send me that. That's amazing.
And I was just like, yeah, of course. Of course.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. Of course. There's so much going on in the urine. So I put my urine out there. Like this sample it's from the same sample. It's the same day, same time. I left one inside the house, which is the one that's on my left. I don't know if it's different on the screen. And the other one I put out in the sun. And they were both very, very different. The one that had been out in the sun, there was a lot more structure to it. There was more crystallography, and it was shining gold. Like it can't even pick
Wow.
up the color when I photographed it. It was so bright and gold. So I did my experiment. I thought, okay, let's have a look and see, does the same thing happen if it's somebody that doesn't drink their urine? So I looked at, like, how does the light work with their urine? And again, it's the same response. It's not the same. It
Wow.
is not the same. It doesn't, again, it doesn't have as much structure. It doesn't have as much light. So I was like, there's something intimately linked when we've started to recycle our plasma in our body, that there's a totally different reaction that is actually happening, and a different relationship that's going on with our environment. So for me, that's the most profound thing. That just makes me want to stay hooked in, like, okay, there's what else do I need to know and learn and look at, because this is it's just, to me, it's like fascinating. It's
Oh my
absolutely
gosh.
fascinating.
When I watched your interview with Amanda Vollmer, you really inspired me to up my game because
Oh, great.
like I was already doing a lot, but by up my game, I actually mean like more intention, like with more
Right.
intention into what I was doing. And
Yeah.
right now we're in Spain. We live really close to the beach. And so I'm like putting it topically on my body and laying in the sun. And I'm just like visualizing all of these
Right.
images that I was seeing in your
Yeah.
thing of like just the sun hitting that and it just like charging everything in your body. And I gotta say, since I watched that interview and started like just putting more of my own intention into what I was doing, my dreams have gotten crazier. Like I said to Lee last night, I'm like, I feel like can lie down and I just close my eyes and I'm like, I'm in a lucid dream. Like I'm not even
Hmm.
anywhere near going to sleep, like not even, and then waking up and then being able to like just seamlessly fall back into that same lucid dream again. It's like, I mean, I'm Am I sleeping? I don't even know if I'm getting very much sleep, but it's pretty wild, the whole
Right. Because
intention
I
part
always,
of this.
yeah, because I feel that we activate more of like vortices in our plasma. I call them like, sometimes I can see them in the, but they look like flying saucers. Like sometimes they're like things that are, like a friend said to me, they said, God, it looks like some interplanetary communication system.
Yeah.
It
It really,
like
and it really kind of is when you think of the amniotic fluid and the fact that this is what we
yeah,
were born swimming in.
yeah,
All of this light show that we're seeing on the screen here, and yeah, it really is
so to,
unlocking something in the
yeah,
body, cycling it
yeah,
back.
exactly. I feel that the same can be seen. So an example, like in regenerative farming, in land, the way once you change the environment and the terrain of soil, you can
Right.
awaken ancient seeds that start growing, things that haven't grown for millennia in an area. Suddenly when you bring the like the animals back in, I always, because regenerative farming, there's a lot more urinating into the soil. There's more poop. They're treading the ground. They're
Right.
stimulating the environment. And you hear from regenerative farmers like, the grasses that come back and grow, these ancient seeds that awaken up. It was something that I tuned into with the aged urine. The same thing. It was we because our biomes have been so abused and battered by chemicals and the environments that we live in and the blue light, all the toxicity, that there's certain things cannot live and exist in that environment anymore because it's too unhealthy for them. So to me, it was like they stay dormant within us. So when we change that inner environment, we create the space and the terrain for them to come back. So
Yeah.
I was seeing
And it
things that
doesn't take long.
I was calling them like the ancient archaea. We awaken something ancient within us, and that comes from that like deeper sense of that we have like a deeper sense of knowing, and that we create this environment for. I look at it like, so it's like going back to the womb. We've created in our mother's waters, our grandmother's waters. We open up that connection to our ancestral link. We open up that connection to ancestral memories. And I feel that's the same in when we start lucid dreaming. We're creating this connection to information that's already out in the ethers, that we just become more not more sensitive to it. It's our frequencies and harmonics change, so we have access to it. The
Right.
access is there.
The
And
information
talking of,
has always been there. It's just
it's
now
always
you
been,
have the
yeah,
connection to
you have
get the
the
information.
tool the tool to access it. So
Yeah.
again, like, yeah, definitely being intentional with the urine. This was an experiment I did with a friend. She had done, it was the same sample of urine, and she did different intentions on each sample, because we were wondering, okay, what does something change with intention? So one thing that we noticed that changed with each sample was the color. The color. So again, we're going back to the optics. We're going back to like light, and spectrums and different things like that. So it was like, oh, okay, the intentions actually changes the colors, and also what it changed was, I don't have images of it, was the way the crystallography formed too. So it's definitely something going on with our intentions. So we, like the green that she did, that was a heart-based intention. So it was like, so we were like, oh my gosh, it's green. That was heart-based. The blue was all about expression and singing. And it was blue. And the white, it was actually platinum, was all about connecting to the mother again,
Wow.
that. that energy of love. So definitely intention does have an effect. There's something changes.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah.
I can't wait for your book.
I
Like you just, I'm
can't
gonna
do
like, you're gonna lineup of promoters waiting.
right. Because I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, because I think about it, I thought, because I've always had health issues all my life. I was always the sick kid, always had something going on. And I remember like things got really bad in my 30s after having my kids, having cesareans and everything else. And I always thought, like now I think, God, I wish I'd known about this when I was 30. But then I think, well, probably then I probably would have gone, that's disgusting. I'm not doing nothing like that, and I would have gone on a different path. And I always think if I'd have had information like this and seen images like this of
Oh, it would have been a game changer.
the inner realm, what is going on in our body, I would have been like, oh, I'm going to try that. So my thing is that my hope and like my dream is that this really supports people in doing urine therapy and taking that the fluids back into their body, that it's not
Yeah.
something that's dirty and disgusting. It's actually, there's so much beauty in urine. That was what somebody said to me. They said, who would have thought that urine could be so beautiful?
Right. That's what really, your work really is beautiful for that because, well, I hope it helps people who are doing it come out and share their story a bit more because there's so many people that do this that are afraid to about the rejection. They're already kind of even dealing with it in their closer circles. It's like already a lot of pushback. So, yeah, but this just kind of blows the lid off of that whole
Right.
part of it, as you say, because there's just so much beauty in here. And by no
Yeah.
surprise, a lot of the people doing actual studies and actual work in this are females, like the Darlene Tien, who's doing her PhD study on evolved Shivambu, and yourself. And it's like, yeah, by no surprise, I really feel like this is a really female, woman driven coming out or reemergence or, I don't know, revival, like something like that.
I do. I feel there is a momentum. There's a lot more people that are doing this. That energy is building up. It's and I can see it becoming more acceptable and more integrated into well-being and health. Even with like some new moms that I've been talking to, like there, it was a friend actually. She was reading about potty training her child, and in the book it talked about how urine is beneficial for cuts and things on the skin to use. And she sent me a text and she went, oh my gosh, they're
This is
saying this
right
in the
there.
book,
Yeah.
so she was like, said, I just wanted to share that with you because of what you do. And it's like, yeah, like building that momentum and excitement and the truth. I think,
Right.
that's what the truth of how our bodies actually work, I think has become a lot more out there in the field for us to, especially with everything that's been happening since
Yes.
2020, that it's how do our bodies actually work, what is the
Right.
actual truth of these organisms. Like I look at them, the somatids, and how they pleomorph into different bacterias, to do different jobs in our body, that how they've been like pointed at as they're the problem. We have got to destroy them. We've got to kill. And we're like, we are still have that mentality of killing and destroying our life force, like you're just pissing it down the toilet and destroying it. It's like, no, that's the wrong way to look at things. That's not how they work. It's not, this is their planet. This is their body, that they know how to take care of this body. You know, we have to be aware of what we're putting into it and the environment that we're in, you know, and the things in that way. But they control the mechanisms of this body, of keeping this body thriving and surviving and healthy and well and vibrant.
Yeah.
You know, that's their skill.
And
And
I've
we
been
need
doing
to
this about the
reconnect with
same
that.
length as you. I'm like 2.5 years right now, almost to the day. And some of my friends that hadn't seen me in a while, like they hadn't when my first year and a half of being on plasma, and then I went back to see them, and they were like, like, a picture on your screen is one thing, but then to see the person come back into your space, and I was like, it was so crazy because I was looking right at all my friends, and I'm like, I could see how they had aged, and then I could
Yeah,
see how I had like actually gone the other direction. And I didn't tell everyone. Like some of the people that
right.
ran into me were like, what are you doing now? Because I was always kind of a bit of a
Yeah,
health nut. But plasma therapy really like,
yeah,
wow, I don't know where I would be without it, to be honest with you.
yeah, yeah.
And I had no idea.
Same.
Like, if you would have asked me, I'd have been like, yeah, I'm okay.
Yeah,
Normal. But that normal is no longer even like normal was a train wreck, actually, as it
right.
turns
Yeah,
out.
yeah,
Yeah, it really
yeah.
made a huge impact on my health. I just can't even imagine where I would be without it.
Yeah, same. I'd got to the point because I just hit my 57th birthday. And 3, 4 years ago, even coming into like my 50s, you know, with things that were happening in my body, I was like, oh, I was kind of putting it down. You know, we were programmed with the midlife crisis at 50,
Right.
you know, and you're going downhill at that point. And they talk about, oh, and all these functions are less and less in your body. So you're going to have less energy, blah, 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 blah. All lies, all just programming and lies. Because so I was at the point thinking, oh yeah, it just must be these must be old age things. These are the things you just have to like put up with and tolerate. And then when I started urine, all those things went. You
Yeah.
know, it was like, oh, okay, I don't have to tolerate those things. My body has the ability to regenerate um, and create more life force in my body. It's something that I noticed just even looking at my blood, how my blood changed, you know, how I could see that the charge, the voltage, the way the cells were more vibrant, they were stronger. I could see that that was a living example, but I was a living example because I don't suffer with fatigue or burnout. That's not something in my life anymore. I don't have that. I don't have, I mean, I do wear glasses. My eyesight's not getting worse. I actually stopped wearing glasses for driving. So I didn't have to wear them anymore. But I think I've got more eye damage from constant work on a microscope because that
Right.
really does damage your eyes over a period of time. But I don't see anything or feel anything in me that feels like it's degenerating. I feel revitalized all the time. Every morning when I get up, like I don't wake up thinking, oh, gotta get up, you know, and do that. I'm up I'm on my day. I don't have because that was a big deal for me was fatigue and brain fog. The
Yeah, the mental
because
clarity that it brings is really amazing. And to
yeah,
go through when you find yourself in a stressful situation, your ability to just keep your cool, and it was huge for me. Yeah, some heavy stuff has happened, over the last 2.5 years, and
yeah,
I'm amazed at how like I've been able to handle it,
yeah,
and yeah,
a
I just
calmness. That's what I find. I
yeah.
don't get triggered as much. I
Yeah.
don't find myself needing to be really annoyed about something that's happening in the world.
Yeah.
Oh, look what they're doing now. That I don't find myself going down in directions of that way.
Right.
Um, I kind of just see it for what it is. I know it's out there in the realm, but my focus and attention is somewhere else now. It's a
Right.
lot
I just
more,
quit engaging in it altogether,
yeah,
actually. I don't even watch any of that stuff or yeah, it's just out of my spectrum now and I just engage in more positive and vibrant and
being
positive.
out in nature,
Yes,
being
definitely.
outside, just outside, because we've been so habitualized to be inside and sitting down,
Hmm.
you know, and now a lot of people are so habitualized to be inside, sitting down in front of like technology that we're in front of right now, you know, and our phones and stuff that I
Yeah,
found that
taking us
really
away
we
from the technology that's right
yeah,
here.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
amazing.
And yes, just so that that's another thing that I've thought about too with doing urine therapy over a longer period of time and more people doing it, that it'll reawaken the like telepathy that we can have, like that communication, you know, like saying like, so like with me having somebody's urine here and they live so far away in another state somewhere, there's still able to be that field that the information is still forming, you know, there's still a connection that we will eventually be looping up in that way, you know, whether we
Yeah,
do that
I feel
in
like a
lucid dreaming
connection.
or just, yeah,
Right. I feel
in
like
our thought.
plasma cyclers are somehow connected in some way
Definitely. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
in the field. That's really what
Yeah.
that lucid dream of that womb tunnel that I ended up in with all this crazy purple blue light bath that I was in. It was like yeah,
Yeah.
really.
It's interesting to say blue, the blue light bath. That's some, like some people's urine that I can look at that it can just be so bright and blue. Um, it's incredible. It's not everybody, not every urine drinker is like that. But some is like this incredible blue that shows through. Sometimes I think it's maybe organ energy,
Oh yes.
um, or on some level, some kind of orgasmic energy as well that makes it so blue. It's incredible. It's such a beautiful color.
Yeah, like indigo or I don't know, something like that. It's just we try to
Yeah,
put words to these things, but
yeah. And some colors that like, so what I'm noticing too, that there's I'm noticing that things are changing again. There's a different level of information that is showing in the urine. And I don't fully, it's only just something that started because because something I noticed, I don't drink as much water as I used to. So what I started to drink a water that is actually depleted in deuterium. It's expensive water, but I was like, okay, I'm a guinea pig. I'm an experiment. I want to see, is there a difference? Do things change? So I started drinking this other water and looking at the different things of urine while I've been drinking this water, and also looking at the water under the microscope because it looks very different to has different properties and things going on than regular water, and noticing how my urine is actually it's doing different things now.
wow.
And I'm like,
We drink
okay, so what?
distilled water, or yeah, like when we drink water, we drink distilled water, and then we try to put some, like we'll squeeze some fresh lemon in there or something like that, or a fresh pressed juice. But what kind of water? Now I'm curious what kind of water this is. That
um
like would it be something like that? Just like H2O, like just
No, well, the way they have to like process it is pretty intense. It's pretty expensive. A lot of energy has to go into it to actually to lower the deuterium level within it. So that's like the ppm
Right?
level well, of the reading. So it has a really low reading. And not that, I mean, deuterium's present everywhere, and I don't know an awful lot about it. It's just things that I'm just learning about. That it's in
Right.
all water. It's a hydrogen molecule. The body uses it and needs it, but if we have too much of it in certain places in the body, it's going to cause all kinds of disruptions and problems. Especially when it gets into what we call like the cells or and like the tissues of the body, it can cause a lot of problems. And people, you know, it's that programming again that you have to drink this amount of water, you know, to be healthy and to be hydrated. It's the same as like, oh, you can't go 3 days without water, or you can't go this long without food, or we actually know that's all a lie.
Yeah,
You
I feel
know,
like
we
people
can
are drinking
listen.
way too much water.
Sorry, what was that?
I feel like people are drinking way too much water. It's like flooding themselves
Their
with.
bodies. Yeah. And I think about that they're also flooding their body with a lot of deuterium because all the waters are very different as well, you know, that people drink. So that's creating a lot of disruption in the body, a lot of hormonal disruption, a lot of circadian rhythm, you know, the biology of the body, of the clocks in the body that work in a certain way, that creates a lot of disruption. So I thought I want to see what is different. And I am noticing like some really unusual differences, but I don't know what it means yet, you know, so it's kind of like I've got to look and observe for a lot longer, but yeah, it's just different.
Something there.
There's definitely something there, and I've just got to look for a bit longer to see what that is actually about, because it looks like it creates. So, you know, if you look at the, you know, the planet from above and you can see what looks like where lightning struck an area, or you look at like dendritic patterns, Lichtenberg patterns on the planet. It looks like tributaries, the way the rivers form and flow, and estuaries. So what's happening with the urine now with this change in the water, whereas the sample used to just stay round so I could look at it. You know, it has its its circumference is
Right?
intact. This urine doesn't want to stay intact. It
Oh,
wants to go, and it spreads out,
wow.
and it actually, so on a slide I will put 2 drops and there's a space in between. So what I'm noticing is that it's like it rushes towards itself. It's like I
Wow.
don't know, it's like it's spreading itself out, and it creates this dendritic patterning. And it kind of looks like as well, it's so weird. It kind of looks like as if you're in the universe with nebulas, you know, the way the nebulas form. It's, and I don't know if it's something related to plasma, if the body suddenly has a different level of energy and information, but I've never seen a fluid move that way.
Wow. That's fascinating. It kind of
It
it
just,
makes me think of
yeah,
gold, actually.
yeah,
When you were talking about that, the it made me think of gold. Gold really likes to be itself. When you find it in nature, it's really usually in a really pure form. They don't, you know, sometimes you hardly need to do anything to it to kind of clean it up. And
right.
so it made me just think of gold. Interesting.
I think of that too. I think that we're actually that whole expression, like the turning lead to gold. I think it's kind of like a transformation that goes on in the body with, I'll say the word metals. Not all metals are not bad. It's just dependent on what state they're in, that we
Right.
change that formation in our body to gold.
Yeah.
That is what is actually going, that's what creates the energy. That's what like I think of us then as super semiconductors. There's more of these conductors within our body. So that gives us more access to light. It gives us more access for our body then to process light and then to make light. So we shine brighter, we glow more, because that's something else that I've noticed with watching urine is there's a glow. And it can, like with the saber lights that we were showing before, that's one form of light that you see, but this is a light that pulses and flashes.
Yeah,
And
it's
yeah, and
crazy to think of that. Like when you look at the image on the screen, it's like a snapshot, but like to think that this is like active, like it's you you know, you can never capture life. It's moving way too fast, right? So it's
yeah, and I try to capture these before they start forming, and that's a lot of having to sit and watch. And well, because these things just appear out of what I say the void.
right.
I'm looking at a spot where it's just dark, there's nothing going on, and all of a sudden there's something happens, and it happens very quickly when it starts to happen. Um, so you just see it as a tiny point of light, that, and then it starts growing like this, the geometry. It starts growing and changing and giving off different radiance of light. So that was another thing. Like when I first started looking at the images, to me, it was like living art. And I was seeing that, you know, images, as in art, it transmits information to whoever's viewing it. People go to art galleries and they'll sit for hours in front of an image, taking in the transmission and the information. So it was kind of what I wanted to create with these images, that what I was feeling was there was a transmission they were giving to. So for people that were sending me their urine, there was specific images and information for them, for their transmission, for them to be with, and just to, soften your gaze and you just stare at it, because information is being transmitted to you, and then you're also transmitting information to the image. So again, we're
Yeah.
looking at like being intentional with what we're transmitting and what's being transmitted to us, because I felt like that was a big part of it too.
Yeah,
Because
we're
we
like a
all have,
mirror. We're like a mirror to
yeah,
our own plasma
yeah.
in some way.
Well, and also when you look at, like, the way mandalas are created, I look at like Tibetan art, things like, the geometry that's formed, like you can look at that and there's so much that's being informed to your field as well. So to me, it's like, this is what these images, I felt like that's what they wanted out there, because
Right.
it was kind of like I wanted to create like a space where people could go and just, like an art gallery, and just
Like
be,
interact.
yeah, interact with the images,
Yeah.
just to receive that, whatever that transmission was. Because some were just profound, because I was like, how can an image like this one, like people said, oh, you're just looking at salt, and I was like, whatever, minerals, whatever, they must be really cool salt then, if this is just salt. I've never seen a salt that looks like that, so it was like this communication, because we look at shape has power, we look at pyramids, look at geese who have been obsessed for hundreds and hundreds of years. What are they? What's their purpose? What do they do? And we know these things transmit energy. We know there's something really sacred about pyramids. We know we can preserve food under a pyramid. We can have so many experience sitting in a pyramid.
Right.
So shape has power. It has
Yes.
it has harmonics and frequencies that it's given off, and I feel that okay, these are frequencies and harmonics that exist in someone's body. This is what they can activate. So that's why I was like, this is our inner technology.
Yeah,
The
I
ancients
fully
knew,
agree.
our
Yes.
ancestors knew this. We can go right back to looking at art on rocks, on stones, even the way dolems are created, stone circles, pyramids, the whole gamut. It's like I can see that in the urine,
Yeah.
so there's it's fractal, it's everything. It's like as above, so below. You keep looking at it, it's the same thing over and over again. It's like the dendritic patterns, they just keep fractalizing, doing the same thing. It's
Yeah.
beautiful. I just
Have
think
you
art
ever
is beautiful.
have you ever worked with anyone's plasma that does not consume sodium chloride, aka salt, NaCl?
No.
I would be really curious about that because I actually took sodium chloride out of my diet like completely. Well, okay,
Right.
I experiment from now and then. I experiment and I will reintroduce sodium chloride into my body after not consuming it for really long periods of time, and I like instantly feel the negative impact of that on my body actually.
Right.
And
Right.
so I'm really curious about yeah, the if
I
there's
don't
a
use a
impact.
I Yeah, I don't use a lot of salt. I don't feel the need to
Right.
use salt. I don't even know when I would have used it last.
Well,
But
there you
maybe you can
go.
be that experiment. Maybe you can send me your urine. Maybe you can be that person and we can look at your urine.
Oh, I would love to be a part of this light
Yeah, yeah.
show.
Well, you can do that, and I can see. Yeah, that would be
Yeah.
fun because
Okay, cool.
we can create. Our body can create what it needs. When we put
Exactly.
that information is going back in, the body can um, it can transmute. I'll use the word transmute things. It can change things from one thing to another. And
Right.
that happens with the bladder. The body can, while we've got that urine stored in our bladder, the body's still using it. It's still going, those organisms are still going into that, crossing over the membranes, going into those areas to take what they need, to get things transformed and changed. Like, oh, the body needs this now. Let's have this, and it can also take the water from the bladder and reuse it. This is that's why this is not a waste product. This is a fluid. This is a life force fluid that the body uses and benefits from, and it recycles it naturally through its body anyway. As it's gone through the kidneys, it goes back into the blood,
Right.
back into the body. It's all going through, spiraling through our body, going
Oh,
through
I just
alchemical
love that
process.
whole visual of it. Like, and even how it comes out of your body when you start to collect your own plasma, you realize that it's not like a garden hose. It's not coming
Right.
out like
No.
it's coming
It's
out like,
spiraling.
yeah. I
You have
mean,
like two vortexes that come out and spiral together. That's another thing that was really interesting to watch when I started my journey with urine, was watching how it came out, because it would be different each time. If you do watch it, like sometimes it can shoot off in a certain direction, it can go more right, more left, or sometimes you can actually see it when the two streams come together and spiral out. I think it's
oh,
sometimes easier for men to watch it, coming out, because they
I know
actually,
they have a easier
whereas
tool
we've
for
got to
that.
be like more. Well, actually, I don't even squat anymore. I
I
found
don't,
that
I stand up to do all of this now.
my pelvic floor is so much stronger because I'm not
I
sitting on a
know,
toilet all
hey?
the time. I've been squatting more. I've been sitting differently in that way when I urinate. That um, it's that pelvic floor. My pelvic floor is so much stronger. Yeah, I can
Definitely.
stand and see.
Yeah. definitely.
Yeah.
Totally agree. Did you notice anything? Did you just naturally start to take sodium chloride out of your diet, or did you do that purposefully? And do you notice a difference when you have it again? I feel it in like inflammation. Like I almost instantly have cankles. Like my
I feel
I've
my
always had
bones feel.
problem with water retention in my legs, and that
Mm.
like eliminated the issue.
I tend to feel it more, and my bones feel a bit heavier. And I was actually wondering if it was related to this thing that I was having with my foot that I was dealing with for over a month, because I remember I was using salt more back at that time. So I haven't even put that together, that it could have been related to that, that my skin was kind of breaking out and being itchy. I'll have to be a little bit more conscious of that.
Yeah. I'll
Um,
send you a bit of stuff I've dug up on the whole sodium chloride thing. I don't want to talk about it too much right here,
okay.
but it's interesting that you are also on the side of no, you feel no, I don't feel any need for it,
I know I
really.
don't feel any need, because I feel that my body is going to do the mineralization that it needs.
Right. We're
It's going to
self-balancing
create
in some
whatever
kind
it
of way.
needs. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I also
I
feel
have
like a
total.
stronger connection to the luminaries, stargazing. I don't know. I feel like we get something because when we're born into this world, it's like that first breath you take and what our makeup was like, where all of the luminaries were in that moment, and the energy of the sky that was sort of put into us when we arrive here. And the gestation, of 9 months in your mother's womb, and there's like this 3 month window that you don't get the full spectrum of the luminaries from that. So that's what they call these cell salts, like what your
Yeah.
ones you're depleted in. But I think you can
Hmm.
get those just from stargazing and just from, like you say, putting the intention out there into the ether to be in a balanced state, and you receive that information from from that influence, kind of like how the Shivambu is charged by the sun. I think
Yeah.
there's something about the night sky, the energy of the night sky as well on that. So
Yes.
interesting. There's
Yeah.
just no end
Yeah.
to it, is there?
I, there isn't, and I think the more we learn and the more we experiment, and look at urine and the things that, more people doing it, there's more information that's going to be available for us to learn, and to be informed about, like you were saying about the person with they found that, the liver changed, from just the 5 milli. The more we have more information coming to light in that way,
Right.
we'll learn even more about the body. Um,
Absolutely.
'Cause, yeah, when we just look at light and water, because I always feel that this body was created to be self-sustaining, that it wouldn't need anything from outside of itself.
Yeah, that's the
Why
beautiful
would.
discovery in this. Hey, I was like, of course we're made like that. You just have this whole new love for the body and the
Right.
how we're created, and similar to you, I let go of all of this fear of not having enough sustenance in my
Oh,
life. Like,
yeah.
this big store of, I don't even have anything in my refrigerator right now, and it doesn't even bother me. Like, that was
Right.
not me 3 years ago.
Right. No, I've been, because I have 3 kids, and being a single parent, I've just been a mad, crazy organizer, prepper. Got to make sure every base is covered, that every disaster is covered, from fire to flood to pest, everything. Have it all covered, because I would not want to see my kids, um, you know, without something being able to survive, you know. So I think I've been like that for a long time, and now I don't have nothing.
Yeah.
We used all that stuff, all that hoarding of food that we had. Well, it was just got used up, and it never got like, oh, I've got to make sure I put back what was used so that we have enough of this for when everything goes down and there's no electric, you know. Oh God, the stress that that caused in my life was so now there's like you say, there's none of it. There's the fear. It's that
Yeah.
relaxation, that dropping in
Yeah.
relaxation to a deeper knowing about you that, oh, I can survive. What am I worried? There's no need to even put my energy there anymore. So
Yeah.
let's focus on that relaxation, that bliss, that increasing that energy field, the harmonics, the connection with the ether, you know, all the things that have been hidden from us in the last hundreds and hundreds of years about the truth of what we are and the access to free energy. Because to me, like I say, interplanetary communication, but this is the free energy that we generate in our body.
Exactly.
This is it. You know, this is, and like you're saying, if you can do a light bulb with urine, oh my gosh, you know, it's like, I'm sure people can power their cars with urine, you know, and it has so much potential, you know. So yeah,
Yeah, when I first got onto this, there was a bit of anger too at the beginning because I felt so like, that I was owed this information and why was it kept from me? And there was like actually a lot of anger at the beginning to just process all of that and come to terms with the fact that no one owed me the truth, and it's up to me. It really ignited that like intelligence that we're born with,
yeah,
bring
yeah,
brought that right back front and center, and that I didn't need to go to any space, any institution to be
yeah,
taught how to be intelligent, that I was born with it. But
yeah.
yeah, when I first learned about plasma therapy, there was some anger there. I felt like I could have ripped down the house like brick by brick because I just felt so like, like, yeah. So
Yeah.
there's a process to like this coming into all of this knowledge and just
Hmm.
actually dealing with the truth in some fashion. And yeah,
Exactly. Because I think of that, well, even myself as a child, you know, for what, 11 years of my life being in an institution where I had to sit down at a table where everything was governed by the ring of a bell. When I was able to get up and, you know, by the authority of what somebody else was saying there, those habitual patterns there's so much locked up energy in how
right.
we were made to conform as children because they, you know, like when your baby's born and your children grow up, there's such a natural curiosity for anything they see. They see things differently. You know, there's a wonder to it, you know, the wonder to what a leaf looks like and the patterns in a leaf, and like, oh, can sit and look at a butterfly for hours and be fascinated by the world that they're observing, you know, and learning about. And then they get put into a school system, sits them at a desk and tells them they can't move for an
Yeah, it
hour or
really
they
like
have to
shuts
ask for
that all
permission.
down.
It's shut down completely. It's heartbreaking. So yeah, to be enraged and have anger from that there's going to be a process in us of releasing those habitual patterns that we were locked into for so long.
Yeah.
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 All of that would be totally relevant. I've been enraged. I was enraged when I found out how much money they make from taking plasma from people, and people go and give it away willingly under the premise that, well, it's helping other people, so I have to do it. You know,
Yeah.
all these different. Yeah,
Just
they can just
playing on
drink their
people's
urine.
emotions. Yeah. It's so
Yeah,
crazy. And then the animal plasma, which I don't have a problem with, but it's just hilarious to me, like all of this harvesting from animals and then giving that plasma to people to balance their hormones and stuff like this, like for women, right? And but don't take your own.
And if you actually knew how horrific it was for a horse to live a life with a constant catheter connected to it in dark sheds, yeah, the cruelty that exists around that enraged me. That
Yeah,
got me
hey?
really mad. Yeah, the
Yeah.
abuse to animals. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know what people's image of that is, but probably
yeah,
not what you think it is.
no,
Horses frolicking out in the wilderness and, they're like with a
no,
little
that's not how they do it.
soft little bucket tied around that area to catch some. Like, no.
No, it's not. It's pretty awful.
Well, I
Okay.
think we've been talking a while here. I don't want to keep you too long, and I would love to do this again, and actually connect maybe like Darlene. I haven't spoken to her yet. Tihen, who did the PhD study. It would be cool to have a little gathering or something. Yeah,
Yeah,
you
that
wanna
would be that
if you
would
wanna
be
close up your screen share for
okay.
now, and then unless you wanted to show any closing, was there some image that you wanted to share before we go away, like one last thing or something like that?
Um, this goes to I talk about, the somatids, the bions in our body, those higher
Yes.
organisms. So this is what really I got me hooked because as I was observing, like in the beginning, I was more focused on them because that's something that I always enjoy looking at in the blood. They've fascinated me for the last 20 years. And I was looking and I remember thinking as I was watching the sample, I was feeling curious. What is it about looking at these somatid? Why am I doing this? And one somatid created a heart. I watched it
Wow.
create the heart shape in front of me, and I was like, okay, all right, I get it. I'm hooked. I'm gonna keep. So that this it was an
Is
image
the
that.
divine speaking loud enough for you in this?
Are you gonna? Is this gonna hook you in? I went. I'm in. I'm fully 100% in. Okay, okay. There's something here. All right.
No doubt. Wow, that's a perfect
So
image to finish up with. Thank you for sharing that one. That's just
right, and I don't know
remarkable,
how to not.
actually.
Oh, do I just press stop? Okay, press stop.
Yeah, there we
Yeah, it
go.
would be
Great.
nice to do that collaboration, and hopefully you can send me your urine after doing your experiment and intentions and whatever it is you'd like to create for that, and we could see what it has to say,
And
what
okay,
it wants to
we'll
share.
discuss how of that off
Yeah,
channel. But yeah, I'm totally down with
definitely.
that and would be just like woo, excited to be a part of that.
Yeah,
But thank you so much for all of the work that you're doing and the courage to share it with all of the rest of us. Oh, I know I speak for many women and men out there on this
mm,
journey that are so grateful to see this light show that you have captured, and I look forward to where this is going to take all of us, actually.
me too.
So,
And thank you for being such a shining light out there and being a platform for the information. You know,
yeah, well, kind of
that
like
takes a lot
you,
of courage.
when I had that lucid dream, I felt like that was like the heart showing up for you. That was what it was for me. It was a message that I had to share my experience and help others share their
Yeah.
experience. So
Yeah.
this is the path of heart for me. I don't have any choice.
Right.
And sometimes it's like this burden, right? You're like, oh,
Yeah.
why? Why does it? But I'm
Yeah.
really falling in love with the whole process as more time passes, and especially from
Yeah.
being able to have conversations with beautiful people like you, Fiona. So,
Thank you. This has been a
and
joy. Thank you.
oh, I really appreciate it. So the best way for people to kind of see your work is through Instagram, is that right?
Right now, yeah. Like I said, I'm so not a tech person. I'm
Okay.
gonna, yeah, the Instagram is the best
Yeah.
way until hopefully they can let me stay on.
Well, if they don't, we're gonna find a way. Don't worry. Yeah,
Yeah.
and actually Twitter is a really interesting space to be on right now because there's these I never knew about this till this year. We're hosting Twitter Spaces on Twitter, and it's like call in it's like a radio show actually, like where you used to be able to call in and be a part of the radio show. It's kind of like that, and there's some really
Oh, wow.
amazing
Oh, that's
discussions
interesting.
happening there. So if you get yourself a Twitter account, which is pretty easy, and you can join in. We have a daily conversation there, and it'd be amazing to have you. So there's no video; it's just audio, so it's pretty easy. You can just do it from your phone, and you can buy a really inexpensive little small mic that you can plug in so that your voice is more clear on there. And yeah, we're having some
Okay.
beautiful conversations on there. So if there was
Okay, I'll
one
check it out.
yeah, if there's one platform I would actually recommend, that's like a really easy one to get a lot of exposure because there's already these little nugget communities waiting for you to be
Right.
there.
Yeah.
Anyway,
And
I'm
that is
sure this is
one
not
to
going to
be
be
out.
the last conversation that we have and share here.
Right.
So thank you
Well, it's
again, and
been
I'll let
wonderful.
you close with any closing things that you would like to share with the world.
I'm just like, no, I can't, I don't feel in it. So I'm just like, just know that, that don't piss your life force away down the toilet. Just start collecting it, start creating a relationship with your life force, your divine
Beautiful.
self. There you go. Reconnect with your divine self.
Thank you so much, Fiona.
Thank you so much, Anna.